I really never thought I'd see Nicolas Cage do some of the things he did in this film. It's gonna be meme to hell and back. Did you know that Nicolas Cage has teamed up with the director for Nocebo and Vivarium for a psychological thriller called The Surfer? And guess what? It was filmed not very far from me. This looks like one of those frustrating, anxiety-filled thrillers, the ones where you're just screaming at the character, wanting them to make a move, and Nicolas Cage being at the center of it may be too much, or just enough, or perfect. This might be a masterpiece. The Surfer is about a man who returns to a beach he attended as a child. Now he's here to surf with his son. But when he is humiliated by a group of locals, he is drawn into a conflict that keeps rising, pushing him to the breaking point. If you like frustrating movies, this may be for you. I'm gonna let you know if it actually works. I love and hate these kinds of films. Movies like Mother or Climax, where you want to reach into the screen and shake the characters. In fact, the director, Lorcan Finnegan, has already done this with Vivarium. I know a couple of people who wanted to shake a certain character in that film, but even more exciting, this film had a 6-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival where it premiered. So, will it live up to the hype? Will it be too much anxiety? Not enough? Just the right amount? I love Nicolas Cage. I know a lot of people have issues with him, but I think he's perfect for this role and I want to see him kind of suffer. No, I don't. Because if he suffers, I suffer. I'm gonna let you know how much suffering there is. Spoiler free, let's go. I'm gonna check out this at a local premiere, but it is out this May. I'll leave all of that information in the description down below, but let's go see if it's worth your time. Never in my wildest nightmares, but I have predicted that film. It is what it says it is, but that was truly a wild journey. A goofy, dark, brutal, goofy journey. And it is peak Cage. This is peak Nicolas Cage. I wasn't sure which side of his sphere this was going to play into. I always loved the description of Nicolas Cage as the jazz of acting, and this is peak Nicolas Cage. The memes that could come out of this film are unreal, but what a bizarre journey. This film is very strange because I knew it was filmed here, but I hadn't looked into anything else. But it is set here as well. A lot of films are filmed in Australia, but they're not even set in Australia, especially with Nicolas Cage. I wasn't really sure how that was going to go. But he plays against an all-Australian crew, and the film is about him going to this beach, returning to this beach that he used to go to, or kind of like a bay area where he used to go to as a young kid, and trying to use the beach to surf with his son, but he is stopped by this gaggle of horrendous, stereotypical surfer bogans. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but honestly, I feel like Australians will pull a lot out of this, and it should be really interesting to see a foreign crowd and their reaction to it, because they do use a lot of lingo and a lot of slang, and it doesn't hide its Australianisms, which I thought was really interesting and just a very interesting watch for me. The film isn't what I thought in terms of a guy is there for a short amount of time and everything kind of spirals out of control. Things do spiral out of control, but it does take a while, but it does have that full frustrating feeling that I was expecting. It is one of those anxiety driven, frustrating films. I would say more frustrating, and it really dips into him kind of losing it, but everything is very purposeful in this film, even though it is goofy and over the top, and it does kind of lose some steam, I would say, in the third act. I was not really happy with how it ended at one portion. It kind of had a part where I thought it should end, but then it extended after that. But then when it finally wrapped up, I understood everything it was trying to achieve. It's a very interesting film because it does have reveals, but it is so over the top, kind of, as I keep saying, goofy, and this kind of dark humor that it's hard to take seriously, but it's so frustrating at the same time, which makes for a very enjoyable cinema experience because it's getting a huge reaction out of the audience all throughout for so many different reasons. You're laughing, you're confused, you're frustrated, you're annoyed. It really pulls everything out of you, and it does have some really dark themes. I was kind of surprised with how dark it got at moments, but it is kind of satisfying in a way that there was a deeper layer in it. It wasn't just about this surfer who gets frustrated and is ganged up on by these bullies. And let me tell you, the bullies are relentless. Just the stereotypical nonsense around this kind of culture. It talks a lot about toxic masculinity and these just these rodents. They're just rodents, these kids on the beach. And I thought that was a really interesting conversation in itself, but it really does open up to a wider theme, and it is quite poetic, which I wasn't expecting. I really thought it was just going to be Nicolas Cage just going nuts at a beach. Possibly more. I thought it was going to be more like The Long Weekend, if you've seen that. It's an Australian classic film, basically about a couple who are out there battling the wilderness, but it turns into kind of like just a very goofy Wake in Fright, if you've seen that. Beautiful film, but more so about an outsider battling locals. So it's kind of like a blend of that because it's just so Australian, it's so ochre, it's over the top, and I wasn't expecting that. Usually they dull it down just a little bit, but there's a lot of very famous local faces in there. Like I said, I went in blind, and the film has Julian McMahon playing a huge role. Some of you probably don't even know he's Australian because he's in so many American shows, but it also had Miranda Tapsell, who grew up in the same region, same state, territory as I did. So it was really cool to see a lot of homegrown talent, and there were so many other characters in here, very well-known actors in Australia. So it was really interesting seeing the blend between Nicolas Cage's over-the-top acting and them being really authentically Australian. It's just a very interesting clash between two worlds. And my world as well, because like I said, this is not far from where I live. It's a very similar scene that I'm used to. Not that I'm a beach girl, but it's a very similar landscape. Now let's talk about one of the coolest things I haven't spoken about this film, the cinematography. This film is put together, and the reason I brought out those examples of Australian film, it is filmed almost in like a 70s-esque stylization. And although there's like the beating sun in a lot of the film, they really utilize dropping the audience into pure white that you're kind of, can't even look at the screen at some points because it's so brutal, the sun. They also have a lot of very vibrant colors, and that is the blue of the ocean and the sky and a lot of warm tones. So it gives that kind of like groovy 70s aesthetic, and a lot of the framing in terms of zooms, these kind of weird wide angle shots. It's all very summertime 70s, and I really enjoyed the way they put that together. The editing is also very interesting because at points it feels wrong and off-putting, but there are reasons with a narrative as to why they're doing that, and it took me a little while to kind of pick up on that. But it's a really interesting story because it's not only telling something that is so strange that there's layers to the story, but it shows it visually through different montages and just the way it's put together. The music is just kind of a bit goofy, a little bit melodramatic, kind of soapy at some points, and yeah, just kind of stays light and strange. So that all paired together, doesn't it sound weird? It's a very strange film, and I loved a lot of it, but it did really bother me part of the third act. I just didn't gel with it all. This film is so unique in its delivery and so many aspects about it, just its mashup of everything, that there was so many different ways they could take the story. And I do respect the ending, but I just felt like there was so many other ways they could have done it in a more succinct way. Overall, this was a very weird experience, and I did not expect that, which I love. I love going to the cinema and seeing something that I did not expect to see. I like Nicolas Cage. If you don't like Nicolas Cage, this is not for you. It is peak Nicolas Cage. But if you like Nicolas Cage, it's definitely worth a watch. I'll be very interested to hear what you guys think who aren't in Australia, and people who are in Australia, I would love to hear your thoughts as well when you see the film about what you think it brings and says. I just wasn't expecting it to be deep, and it really was. It was kind of brutal and dark, but then just so fucking goofy. So if you want a weird mix at the cinema, a very strange cinema experience, check this one out. I cannot guarantee everyone's gonna like it. I feel like everyone's gonna have a few problems with the story because it is really out there and it is all over the place, but I think that that fits what the intention of the film is. You're meant to kind of lose yourself in the story. I don't think it's as theatrical as I hoped, but I do think that they do some really interesting things with the cinematography that kind of even score for me. If you're looking for something wild, weird, and to support some foreign film, definitely check this one out, The Surfer. I know it's out in limited cinemas in America from the 2nd. Will leave any information I find down below, and it will be in Australia cinemas on the 16th of May. I'll try and leave any other information for other countries down below. That's just off the top of my head. I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I was really impressed with the layers of the story, but I appreciate the vision. You know, it was just very different. For scare, there's some gross parts, I'm gonna warn you. I really never thought I'd see Nicolas Cage do some of the things he did in this film. It's gonna be meme to hell and back. It's kind of gross, but I don't think scary. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10, but remember it does have some dark themes. And for originality, I'm going to give it an 8. I've been seeing a lot of really interesting films lately. Actually, I've done a review this week for The Shrouds, if you'd like to check that out. And of course, if you want to check out something very scary, I have your opinions, your horror opinions here, which the comments on this video are wild. Hope you guys enjoy these videos. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.